Thank you. But no, deep tech. Deep tech, the marketing gestation's longer. In your case, it's having a product ready, product signed off by PhDs or users in manufacturing companies and EV companies, these electronics companies. Talk about your entire marketing business or organization. How did you go ahead and market these nanotubes? What was the difficulty?
Sure.
And the opportunity, of course. How did you get your first customers?
Yeah. So in case of the materials, the big thing is trust. First, when we attend any conference and show people that we are making these single wall carbon nanotubes, it would be like, what's India doing here? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, because we have not produced any advanced materials. We don't make carbon fibers in the country. And there's someone going and talking that, okay, we're producing something 1,000 times smaller than carbon fiber, and talking that. So that doesn't make any sense.
People thought you're talking nonsense in a way, yeah.
Because nobody could believe that you can actually do that in India. Like, because it's not something that's become mainstream. Because normal projection for technology for the Western countries is that you use it, it's become very cheap, only then India buys and starts using it. Until then, India does not use it. That's the whole idea that's ingrained.
How many such companies are in India before we go ahead? How many such companies is yours, really, to be honest?
There are very few, just a handful probably.
Handful?
Yeah.
That's sad. That's really sad.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. So that was one. So it was about building trust. So it started from conferences where people were like, okay, there'd be like, okay, US, China, Japan, and then India. That would be the conversation.
So people were sourcing from there, of course, and that's
and then what we did was, so we were shipping samples. Our first customers started reaching out to us because the kind of nanotubes we made, it had a huge legacy, and a lot of people liked that, and so there were people who were reaching out. So one particular customer from Japan who had used the material, so he went to a conference in Germany. This was around 2019. And while speaking there, he put up a chart showing which are the best nanotubes in the world. So he had a list of all of them which he had tested in his lab. There's a lab called AIST that's in Japan. So in his testing, he ranked us as the first number one in terms of quality.
And so you didn't know that he had done it?
No, we had no idea. We had no inkling that he was even going to do that. We hadn't taken part in that particular conference. And our distributor called up and he's like, okay, this is what just happened. And that a Japanese has gone to Germany and has said that your material is the best. So that was a huge deal for us.
Okay, did people order your products after that?
They did, because that suddenly changed how they were looking at us. And now that they had quantified data that was looking at our material, that made a whole sea of change.
Which industry ordered from you?
So
and why?
Right now, so for the longest time, we have been working with researchers. They've been the biggest users. And from there, now we have transitioned to the batteries. Batteries is one area where we're seeing a huge amount of uptake for the material, and that's been going on. And in NoPo's case, the other thing is, so our model is not, we don't have to reach millions of customers because it's mostly B2B.
Correct.
For us, maybe in our entire lifetime, the max number of customers would be 100 customers, but each with a big revenue size. So it's a different approach for us. Even our marketing doesn't, we don't have to reach everybody. Just the companies and the people who. So
you have to make the science guys are your influencers, and they're not on Instagram, of course.
Even the
they're
business
not on
guys, because
YouTube
it needs to make business sense at the end of the day.
Obviously, the business guys won't talk on YouTube about this, I'm sure, but it's a tough sell.
Yeah.
So that person in Japan, the Japanese man who spoke about this, was very crucial to your success, and that created a network effect of one or two customers coming. From which industry? Mostly automobile or other industries as well?
Currently, it's been automobile and the electronics, the semiconductor industry. So those are two areas that we have focused heavily on.
Okay, so Indian companies or mostly people abroad?
So the batteries, even the Indian companies are talking to us, and the companies around the world. So it's both.
So it's taken you what? By then, 2019 was 10 years into your journey. Revenues were zero almost at the time. Was that a crucial time for you?
So it was, because even after getting to know that, okay, you have an application and you have the product, you still again have to scale. So it's again going to come back to that.
Same problem.
So, but that, at least it was, you know who's going to use your material. At least there's more clarity than,
Okay, Gadhadar, for you to understand to scale the science, and 2019 was a crucial time, how did you scale the science? That's what I want to know.
Sure. So it had been, so we had decided, what we did was, one interesting thing that happened to me was, I studied something called exponential technologies. So as part of an organization called Singularity University. So they had this program, summer programs they used to do. So the basic thought process is, how is it that Silicon Valley in California is able to predict the future? How does the valley know where to bet? How does the valley know that we have to bet on AI? How does it know we have to bet on drones? How does it know we have to bet on lithium-ion batteries? So all these, the companies that I'm referring to in contrast, so all came from there. So how did that happen? So what's interesting is every piece of technology, it seems to follow an exponential law. So basically, there is a time, the Moore's law that we have for processors, which is basically 18 months, things are doubling, which has now become 9 months with mobile processors, and memory chips are just at 4 months. You can actually track that for every single field. So from that field, you can project further, you can project forward and see how the world is going to be. So what the Valley was doing in this particular program too was like we were projecting, okay, solar cells, they're dropping in price every 4 years. Every 4 years, they're becoming half the price or double the capacity. And that trend keeps continuing. Batteries are doing the same. So some are just apparent. We get to see, okay, and that's how we hear like, okay, just think of SD cards. Like even a 128 MB card was so expensive, and now suddenly you're talking of 1 terabyte just being commonplace. So that's what exponentials do. And nanotubes, we realized, were also on an exponential trend, but they were doing it much faster. They were doing it at almost 3 months, is what we had estimated even back then. So we knew that every 3 months, we would have to double capacities, and we would keep looking at ways to do that, and just go do a lot of iterations, repeat it, and build conviction upon that, learn what was wrong, repeat. So it was a significant amount of iterations to develop the tech. And that's the only secret sauce in technology. Like you don't build a fighter jet by just building it once and letting it sit there. You just keep improving every single day, every single minute. And that's how you get to build an amazing vehicle.
How many clients do you have now?
So we have about 10 of them, 10 big ones that we are talking to, and a lot of researchers that we talk to.
Man, round of applause, guys. 14 years of hard work, 10 customers and scaling. That's great. So, team management. I want to open it up to questions. I'll quickly cover team. We have to cover funding. I'd rather have them ask the funding questions because, they read about it every day. There's people. I want to talk about the team management, which is very important for scale. In your case, logistics, technology. You probably you have an organization that now tells stories, right? Because you're a larger business, you have to keep that narrative going. Then you have a finance team. I keep reading about Meesho on the news, trying to go to IPO. I don't know if it's real, but I keep hearing about that. Multiple teams for 2 people who love to build something on e-commerce. You've got that far. Now you have to manage all these things. Yeah, the common answer is you can delegate, create teams, but you have to run the ship. How do you run a ship of, say, more than, once you cross 100, you hardly remember the first 100 people who joined you, right? How did you manage that? That transformation as a leader.
Yeah. I think we had to figure out an answer to this question early in our days. And again, same like a product, you have certain failures, but then things start to work. And I think my biggest learning was before you start to hire the team, you have to nail down what the culture of this organization is going to be. And by culture, culture is very broad to a lot of people. I just mean the shared beliefs that we will never compromise on have to be very, very clear. Once you nail that down, that's the way you decide who will come into the organization. That's the way you decide who will grow within the organization. And that's the way you decide who does not meet the bar and will exit the organization. And that's the flywheel. And I think to me, nailing that culture down, and we've been very consistent with that culture for the last, I would say, at least 7-8 years. We make some tweaks here and there as the business evolves. We have newer things happening. But it was just nailing that down. First was we wanted people who is very passionate about our kind of user, right? If you don't feel proud of your work every day, it's very hard to do it for the right reasons. Unlike, you cannot be motivated about the money or the title or the promotion forever, right? You stay very motivated because every time you ship a new feature, it goes and impacts a lot of people positively. I can go see a small business bought a car for the first time because of the income they made online, or a consumer who says, because you helped me save money in my budget, I could fulfill some wish of my kid that I could not do earlier, right? All of these are very impactful stories, and hence you have to get people who feel passionate about the kind of user that you are serving. We are very, very clear the kind of people we want are people who take a very long-term view, right? We started this taking a 20-year view of who we want to serve and who we don't want to serve. We wanted people who care about the same thing. We wanted
that has to come from the founders.
It has to come from the founders. It evolves, right? So people shape it. Your senior folks will shape it. Other people over time will shape it. They will just do really well in the business, and then you will ask, what did this person have very different than the other people, and you discover a new cultural trait which was implicit, and you'll make it explicit the next day. But I would say like the thing that this is the most important talent tool for me, and that's culture. Nail it down and just don't make any compromises to that. I think we've just done that. And then it does not matter. Technology, logistics, I think culture of people across all these organizations is very similar.
Okay, how many people are you at this point of time?
We are about 1,600 people, out of which about 1,000 would be in tech and products, so mostly the R&D team.
And indirectly, a lot of companies work for you, logistics companies.
Yes, so again, we're a platform, so a lot of people are, their incomes, majority of the incomes are tied with our ecosystem. So absolutely, that number will go into hundreds of thousands, if not like millions, like people who majority of income is tied with us.
No, fantastic. These two are a made in India story, guys, and a success, right? So this is amazing. How big is your team, Gadhadar?
Square root of him.
Okay.
There were 40 people.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which is enough for a product company, I'm
Yeah.
sure, right? And you
Yeah.
probably work with distributors globally.
Yeah, so it's mostly again like because our number of customers are small, it's like the founders ourselves, we interact with them directly.
Okay.
So and these are also big revenue items, so that's
Okay.
requires
Got it.
presence.
So most of them are PhDs that come into your team?
Yeah, so it's mostly over time. What I've realized is so there's actually a very good book about this. It's called "Talent is Overrated." So you don't find like someone is imbibed and is born with talent. It's mostly training and how long people are there on a particular field that makes a difference. And so people have masters and PhDs. And along with that, what we so the same crop of
Culture.
characters
He spoke
that we
culture.
see, yeah, the same thing is super critical for us. We want people who are passionate. And on top of it, we also want people who just know their basics. Basics is what you learn in high school. If you know that really well and you remember that.
The math
that's-
basics.
Yeah, we can do a lot of stuff because you can then break down things into the basic principles and you can then do a lot of stuff with it.
It's interesting, both of you are breaking it down into simplicity, that you're willing to learn, break down the basics. Even marketing is then easy, right? But on the question, let's open it up to them because they're the ones who want to learn. And guys, again, round of applause to these two.